Hi everyone, I'm Nancy Littlejohn with Nancy Littlejohn Fine Art in Houston, Texas. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Marc Dennis's first solo exhibition with the gallery, and I'd like to explain a little bit by reading his bio about the beautiful nature of these paintings, not only on the surface but in content. Marc Dennis is an American artist known for his hyper-realistic paintings that celebrate the subversive potential of beauty, sexuality, and explore the charged subjects of identity, pleasure, and power. Interested in transformative possibilities, Dennis merges various movements throughout the Western art historical canon with modern tropes in order to create fresh paintings rich with hype and narrative, which are elements of the Renaissance, pre-Raphaelites, Grimm's fairy tales, and Disney.
Hakichita is a Lakota word for warrior. It's a portrait of sorts of an incredible Lakota woman named Leila. This particular painting has a strong focus on the awareness for the MMIW movement. So MMIW stands for Missing, Murdered Indigenous Women. The handprint across Leila's mouth symbolizes the voices of Native women being silenced. And the color red is worn to increase awareness to demand justice for the MMIW movement and their families. America. This painting encompasses pretty much everything. This painting, America, is, I guess you could say, where Disney meets Bellini, where heaven meets hell, and where the edge of my childhood meets the future. So it's titled America because it represents my interpretation of America, the beautiful and the controversial. This painting began 2 years ago, conceived as a metaphor for the times we live and remains as such. It was inspired as an amalgamation of forests and flowers from Central America, Mexico, and United States, as well as bird's eyes from the same regions. He loves me not. The transfiguration of Snow White. I was inspired by many things and many feelings. I guess perhaps the most obvious is the painting titled Ophelia by John Everett Millais. I was also influenced by Titian's Venus, and then of course I was inspired and moved by the mystery of the forest, mainly the symbolic menagerie of forest-dwelling creatures, all beautiful, cunning, powerful, lovely, evil, wicked, and wondrous alike in their own ways. Lover's Sabbath. My objective for this painting was to create an explosive composition of flowers moving both fast and slow, somewhat in an upward movement. Like a slow and hard heavy metal guitar solo like one Jimmy Page would play during a live version of Dazed and Confused. I love that song. I listened to a lot of Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and Metallica while painting this, hence the title Lover's Sabbath. I also felt the word Sabbath worked because it was a time to rest while looking at it, a kind of feast for the eyes, a time to breathe. Memento mori. The Latin phrase memento mori literally means, quote, remember that you must die, end quote. So in this painting, I depict the notion of what I referred to earlier as sumptuous imagery, of material riches, as a woman with wondrous hair covered in toppling and cut flowers, and the notion of mortality as a tattoo of a skull alongside a Disney-styled songbird, which for me is reminiscent of Snow White and her narrative with death, also known as the eternal sleep. The Tree of Knowledge of Good and Evil. I guess you could say this painting is my interpretation of the biblical story. I, however, have chosen to depict both good and evil and the knowledge thereof in birds. Birds that are based on North American species that I've either seen or come in contact with in some way or another. And here in this painting, they are either angels or fallen angels. Through the Never, self-portrait of a Haredi man. Here we have an image of a Hasidic Jew with his fur-lined holiday hat, and this hat is known as a shtreimel. So here we see this guy. His shtreimel is being blown off as he is carried away by guiding and relatively aggressive and somewhat violent hummingbirds over an unknown seascape. So this painting remains rather complex, and I guess, for all purposes, it's in a constant state of flux in terms of its multiple meanings. Triumph of the Human Ego is a painting that is somewhat very personal because the combination of eyes and mouths that seem to peer out from the background are sort of, memory fragments of ex-girlfriends, but they remain anonymous, so in a sense they are prototypes of relationships from my past. Along with the personal narrative, there is some public symbolism, and in its totality, perhaps an allegory for searching for love, a metaphor bursting for love found and love lost, and essentially, this painting is about the subversive potential of beauty. Welcome to paradise in a beautiful world. The inspiration for this painting definitely evolved from the anticipated long overdue cultural shifts in our society and the productive aspects, the complexities, and everything else that came with the overall BLM movement. This piece is loaded with historical, mythological, as well as pop cultural influences and references. It's layered with pre-pandemic as well as current socio-political influences.
Hi everyone. After listening to Marc Dennis explain these works, now I think we know they're not only beautiful on the surface, but more importantly, they're historically and culturally relevant. They truly mark this moment in time and deserve closer inspection. So join us in celebrating these works by discussing and sharing and letting us know what you think.